Apple just put a DSLR inside a phone. And I don't mean that in the way every tech writer means it when they're trying to sound impressive. I mean, Apple is literally adding a mechanical aperture, moving physical glass blades to the iPhone 18 Pro Max camera. Apple has never done this on any iPhone before, not once, not in 18 generations. So yeah, this one's different. And there's a detail buried in these leaks about the chip, the modem, and the battery that most people are completely sleeping on. We'll get there. But first, the camera. We're about 5 months out from the September 2026 announcement, and the iPhone 18 Pro Max rumor cycle is already loud, like unusually loud for this early. The supply chain sources and industry analysts are painting a picture of one of the most significant Pro lineup refreshes in recent years, in from that variable aperture camera to Apple's first 2 nanometer chip and potential under-display Face ID advances. I've been tracking every credible leak, every supply chain report, every corroborated source I could find, and I'm going to separate the almost certain upgrades from the maybe pile because there's a lot of noise right now. There's also one upgrade nobody's talking about that might actually matter more than the camera. Stick around for that. Okay, so let's actually explain the variable aperture because most articles say the words and just move on, which is not helpful. Every camera lens has an aperture, the opening that lets light in on every iPhone ever made. That opening's fixed. You get one setting, and the software tries to compensate for the rest. That's been the deal since iPhone 1. Software doing the heavy lifting because the hardware couldn't. Computational photography, HDR processing, smart HDR, photonic engine, all of it. Band-aids over a fixed lens. With variable aperture, the camera physically adjusts how much light enters the sensor based on conditions. It can open up in dark environments for more light, close down in bright ones to prevent overexposure. And it lets you actually control depth of field, how blurred the background of a portrait shot really is. That last part is big. That is a DSLR level feature that's rarely seen in smartphone photography. For context, Samsung brought variable aperture to the Galaxy S9 and S10 back in 2018 and 2019, but due to increased thickness and cost, they dropped it in 2020. Apple watched Samsung fumble it, waited 6 years, and is apparently doing it their way. Ming-Chi Kuo, Apple's most reliable supply chain analyst, first called this back in December 2024, saying the main rear camera on both iPhone 18 Pro models will offer variable aperture. Since then, multiple sources have independently corroborated that claim. The main 48 megapixel Fusion camera on both iPhone 18 Pro models is expected to feature a variable aperture, allowing users to control the amount of light that passes through the lens and reaches the sensor. And there's more to the camera story. The iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max are both getting a larger aperture telephoto lens, building on last year's 48 megapixel 8 times zoom upgrade and pushing it even further. Whereas the ultra-wide camera across the full iPhone 18 lineup might switch to a new Samsung-produced sensor, a 3-layer stacked design that could improve responsiveness, reduce noise, and boost dynamic range. Apple using Samsung sensors in an iPhone. The universe is weird. Now, the chip, and this is the part I said we'd come back to. Apple's A20 Pro chip is expected to use TSMC's first generation 2 nanometer process, down from the 3 nanometer on the A19 Pro. And with that new architecture, you're looking at up to 15% faster CPU performance, 30% better power efficiency, and significantly more transistors for AI capabilities. 30% better power efficiency. Let that sit for a second. Because here's what that actually means for you. It doesn't just mean the phone is faster. One, it means the battery lasts longer even if the battery size stays exactly the same. And the battery size is not staying the same. And the iPhone 18 Pro Max could feature a 5,100 to 5,200 milliamp hour cell, potentially the largest ever in an iPhone, delivering record endurance when combined with that efficient 2 nanometer chip. And starting price is expected to hold at $1,199 flat versus the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Cheaper in real terms, more powerful, better battery. Yeah, okay. The C2 modem, and nobody is talking about this enough. I genuinely don't know why. Apple's custom C1 modem debuted in the iPhone 16e. The C1X followed in the iPhone Air. Apple says the C1X is up to twice as fast as the C1 and the most power-efficient modem in an iPhone ever. The C2 in the iPhone 18 Pro is the next step up from that. But here's where it gets properly wild. The C2 modem could add support for 5G satellite connectivity, which means direct phone-to-satellite links, potentially giving you full internet access over satellite when standard networks aren't available. And Apple is reportedly planning to let third-party apps access that satellite connection alongside Apple Maps and the Photos app. So, not just emergency SOS, actual satellite internet on your phone in the middle of nowhere. I'll be honest, this is the feature with the most practical impact for most people. The camera is flashier. This is the one that changes how you use the phone. Design-wise, Apple is playing it relatively safe, but the one visible change worth noting is a smaller dynamic island. Multiple sources, including Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, point to Apple moving some Face ID components under the display, resulting in a dynamic island that's roughly 35% smaller than on the iPhone 17 Pro. Full under-display Face ID has been pushed to a future generation, but the result is still a cleaner, more screen-forward look. One caveat: one leaker suggested Apple was considering reusing molds from last year's iPhones, which would mean minimal changes. But as of early April, supply chain feedback leans toward the smaller dynamic island being the direction Apple is actually building toward. On colors, new options including a deep shade of red, possibly burgundy or purple-toned, and a coffee shade are rumored. The Pro iPhones still won't come in black, second year in a row. If you're a black iPhone person, I'm sorry, this is your life now. And the front camera is getting a quiet upgrade too. Reports suggest the selfie camera could jump to 24 megapixels, which would meaningfully improve video calls and low-light selfie performance. Now, here's something genuinely unusual that affects whether you should even be thinking about upgrading right now. The iPhone 18 Pro, iPhone 18 Pro Max, and iPhone Fold are all coming September 2026. But there's no standard iPhone 18 planned until spring 2027. Read that again. The more affordable iPhone 18 and iPhone 18e models won't arrive until spring 2027, which means if you want a new iPhone in fall 2026, your only options are the most expensive iPhones Apple makes. Apple looked at its lineup and said, fall 2026 is premium only, no $799 entry point. No middle ground. And there's one more thing launching that September that might steal the entire show. Apple's first ever foldable iPhone. We'll get 3 of Apple's most expensive devices at once: the iPhone 18 Pro, the iPhone 18 Pro Max, and the iPhone Fold, which could be upwards of $2,000. The Pro Max is going to be the sane choice in that lineup. And I never thought I'd call a $1,199 phone the same choice. So is the iPhone 18 Pro Max worth it? Look, this is still a leaks and rumors video. Apple hasn't confirmed a single one of these features officially. But the sourcing on the core upgrades, variable aperture, A20 Pro chip, C2 modem, battery bump, is unusually strong for April, 5 months before launch. If you're on an iPhone 13 or older, 3 or 4 generations of improvements stacked together make the iPhone 18 Pro Max feel like a completely different product. The camera, battery, and chip are in a different league from anything available in 2021. If you're on a 15 Pro or 16 Pro, the camera jump is real, but it's not an emergency upgrade. The variable aperture is genuinely cool. It's not sell your laptop and buy this cool yet. If you're on a 17 Pro, you have a great phone. The dynamic island will be smaller. Your photos won't suddenly be bad. Sit this one out. The thing that might genuinely tip the balance for everyone is that C2 satellite connectivity. If real satellite internet works the way these leaks suggest, not just SOS, but actual connectivity anywhere, that's something no Android phone has either. That's new territory. Here's what I'm curious about. Is the variable aperture the reason you'd upgrade, or is it something else entirely? Drop it in the comments. I'm seeing a real split every time I cover this phone, and I want to know which side you're on, and if you want to know how the iPhone Fold stacks up against the Pro Max, because that choice is going to be very real this fall. That breakdown is coming next week. Catch you next video. Peace.